Thank you, Mr. Secretary, for joining us today. And I will point out to members that in a little more than a month, the Secretary will be back.
We were led to believe your 30-day interval internal review would shed light on that matter, but it includes no explanation of why the President and his staff were left in the dark. It makes no recommendations to improve communication with the White House, and unsurprisingly, it holds nobody accountable. We appreciate your desire to protect your subordinates, but it's important in democracy that public officials are held accountable when mistakes are made. Beyond the immediate need to inform the President, Congress also has a right to know of secretarial absence or transfer of authority. Ironically enough, none of this would have come to the attention if the White House hadn't demanded that the department come clean to Congress and the public. Ultimately, our goal today is to understand how and why this happened so we can ensure it never happens again.
And I will say I agree with much of what the chairman said. I think the lack of transparency and clear communication about what was going on with the DOD, certainly with the White House, but also with Congress and others, should not be repeated. We need clearer, more transparent information about what's going on at the Pentagon. I do want to disagree with just one thing the chairman said about how during the time period when you were in the hospital, the commander-in-chief didn't know who to call. He did. The transfer of power was made. It was made to the deputy secretary. And if anything had come up, that's the way the system works.
I want to be very clear. There was never any lapse in authorities or in command and control. At all times, either I or the Deputy Secretary was in a position to conduct the duties of my office. But we did have a breakdown in notifications during my January stay at Walter Reed, and that is sharing my location and why I was there. And back in December, I should have promptly informed the President, my team in Congress, and the American people of my cancer diagnosis and subsequent treatment. Again, we did not handle this right, and I did not handle it right. As you know, I've apologized, including directly to the President, and I take full responsibility. The 30-day review made 8 recommendations to me, and I have directed that all 8 recommendations be implemented. We put 2 in place already, and we're moving out quickly on the other 6. So let me quickly summarize them for you. We've made clear that we expect full information sharing when a deputy or another designated official assumes the functions and duties as acting secretary. We've issued written guidelines for clear information sharing between my staff and the Deputy Secretary's staff if these scenarios arise. And we'll ensure that the department officials in the order of succession are familiar with and supported for the relevant processes. And we're moving quickly to develop a mandatory reporting protocol for personnel who support me or the Deputy Secretary in situations that might affect our ability to perform our duties and functions. I want to again make one thing very clear. At no time during my treatment or recovery were there any gaps in authorities, and there were no risks to the department's command and control. And from the time that I resumed my duties on January 5th, I fully participated in national security decision-making on events in the Middle East and about military operations in self-defense to protect our troops and our facilities over there. Again, we're moving swiftly to put some helpful new procedures in place to prevent any lapses in notification. And I am confident that we will not experience the same issues in the future.
Secretary, help us get this straight. At what point during your hospital stay did you or your staff decide that the President should know about your hospitalization?
As I understand it, my Chief of Staff contacted the National Security Advisor and advised him that I'd been hospitalized on the 4th of January.
At what point during your stay was the 4th of January?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
How long into your stay was that?
Well, as we've pointed out, as it's been pointed out earlier, I was admitted to the hospital
after you were
on the 1st
hospitalized?
of January, right.
Okay. Yes or no, did you tell your staff not to inform the President, anyone on your staff?
I never told anyone not to inform the President, the White House, or anyone else about my hospitalization.
Okay, so the 30-day review summary lays a lot of blame at the feet of your staff. It seems that would appear, correct? For the breakdown in the process? You've told us that you are responsible, but the 30-day review seems to blame your staff.
Well, the 30-day review pointed out that that there were some missteps, but there was never any ill intent or an intent to obfuscate. So, Member Smith, members of the committee, good morning. I'm grateful to this committee for your continued support.